colleagues, we sit down and we want to learn from each other, we should be doing that at the community level as well. We need to be. We have to recognize that that's really, really important. And it's not just about learning from each other, it's demonstrating the respect for each other's knowledge. And I think that's really, really key. So it's much more than just we're going to come and ask permission to do something in an area. It's taking the time to learn. My dissertation focused in part on traditional songs. And they talked about how people would come in and before they would teach you a certain song, there were all these steps you had to learn along the way. How many people in the room have PhDs? I know a bunch of you do. Don't be shy. Put your hands up. You didn't start at the graduate level. You started somewhere. It's the same with traditional knowledge. Take the time to learn those beginning and intermediate steps, to learn how that knowledge functions. And then you can get to a point where you really understand the methodology of where it's coming from. So this process is really important. It leads me to methodology. Like how I did that. Makawalu. There's terms for this in the Pacific. I had this in something else, and they're like, we have similar terms. Makawalu literally means 8 eyes. Walu, 8 maka eyes. But it means to see things from every perspective. And I think this is really key. I think often when we come in as conservationists, we're so focused on mandates and targets and hitting this that we don't see that you need to have a multidisciplinary approach to achieve any target. That's just good science. So I think when you come in, I was really amazed when Obama came out with his national ocean policy, and then now they're doing coastal marine spatial planning. They brought people out, and they said, it's so exciting because it's 3-dimensional. It's linear in its depth. And I stood up and I said, with all due respect to people who have never been on my island before, Hawaiians didn't plan that way. We didn't plan linear depth. We planned 5-dimensionally. We planned linear, depth and height, so not just up and down, temporally, and spiritually. To me, that's embodying Makawalu, to see it from every perspective. And what's really key is to then take methodology to gather data that way, to use that as your best information available. Best information available is what most governments understand when they're making decisions. It is really the job of the conservation community, of the experts, the recognized experts, to broaden the understanding of what is going into your best information available up front.
3 minutes, Trish.
I'm going to be done in like 2, so.
Yeah.
Couple. Restricted and sacred uses. So I think somebody else talked about the tapu. This is all over the Pacific. We talk a lot about native rights, and that's what I absolutely loved about the presentation from Japan, which should not only be about rights, but about responsibilities. Too often, people are advocating for their rights. People need to be advocating for the responsibilities they traditionally have, they need to have again. Traditionally, Hawaiians, if you broke a kapu, we'd kill you. We can't do that anymore. So there really does need to be cooperation with governments when it comes to enforcement. But this is where you're going to get better cooperation. This is where you're going to see indigenous people inserting themselves into your story. While we may not be able to club people over the head, you certainly can if you base your regulatory system on a traditional regulatory system. You're going to get buy-in, you're going to get better compliance, you're going to get a better system, you're more likely to hit your targets. This is my last thing on community. So we've done more community meetings than I can count at this point. And where we hit a roadblock was there was government and conservation and there's community. And it wasn't enough to just have one or the other. Traditionally, there were experts. What we run into in Hawaii is that it seems we have hit this point where anybody who's Hawaiian thinks they're an expert. It's not the case. Traditionally, there were experts in different fields. What we did was, after hundreds and bazillions of hours of community input where we gathered observational data, we gathered stories, we gathered ecological history, we held a workshop 2 months ago that I co-chaired where we basically stuck Hawaiians and non-Hawaiians, and basically everybody in that picture has a PhD, because we've worked for about 30 years to increase the educational capacity of the Native Hawaiian community. And we stuck them in the room, and we had a really, really hard conversation about where we need to go. And this was critical, because you needed experts on both sides of the table. You needed young indigenous people who understood, who walked in both worlds, who were raised in their culture and yet had the advanced education training to have conversations with scientists and conservationists about what needed to happen next. It's not enough to say we need to integrate indigenous knowledge. What we need is to be putting out frameworks that say how, that provide guidelines and frameworks for governments and large NGOs of step by step how to do that. So that's what came out of this. We didn't just meet and talk to each other. I said, bring your laptops. We're working for 2 days. And we did the framework. I'm lead author in the framework. I swear to God it's going to be done before this Congress is over. But it's getting adopted by our Sanctuary Advisory Council on the 20th. We're parallel sending it out to the state. So we do the work, we push it up at the policy level, and we implement it on that level. And with all that, we're done. So thank you very much.
So our final paper in this session is on scaling up local efforts and building cultural and ecological connectivity, the example from the LNMA network, and it's Alpharetti Tawaki from Fiji.
I'll run with my presentation. The previous session talked about the term marine protected areas. We intentionally moved away from the use of the term marine protected areas because of the connotation, amongst other reasons. Because for communities, they feel that they are being protected, and the areas are protected from that. And we're going with the term locally managed marine area, which embodies what they think and they believe is important. So my presentation today is be looking at some of the efforts that are going in the village level and how they're scaling up to the provincial level, island-wide level, and also at the national level. Before going, I'd like to spend maybe a few seconds talking about the motivations, how it started, how it all started. Fisheries is the cornerstone of our livelihood. So ensuring that we have a secure source of food is very important, is a priority for us. And also the acknowledgement that overfishing is real and it needs addressing. And these are the things that are slowly being acknowledged in communities throughout the city. And also to highlight the urgency for the need for scaling up local management, local marine management. The forecast for the Melanesian alone, we need about 100 tons of fish by 2030. And that's taking into account all the other projections, socioeconomic and growth and all. And with the stock that we have, we cannot meet that demand. And may I spend some time to just talking about the socio-cultural context. And with that need and the urgency, we also have a customer retention system, and I won't go into detail. Francis have dealt with it. And we also have dual governance system, science-based decisions through government, and also traditional governance where local management practices are still in practice. The social ecological connections, land, sea, people, and culture are almost inseparable. You talk about land, you cannot talk about it on its own. You have to talk about sea, people, and culture together. Spiritual beliefs, those we have connections to our natural resources, and the previous speaker also highlighted the need for, in our village structure, there are also social group functions. There are obligations. A chief, a fisherman have a role to play in the village. And also the term ecosystem-based management is not new to the Pacific or to the Oceania. It's been used. Fiji concept of Vanua is similar to the concept of country in Australia. The Ahupua'a, did I pronounce it right? In Hawaii, Solomon Islands, Puava. So the concept is new, that the structure, the framework is there, and recognizing that LMMA actually use those existing traditional frameworks, and also being sensitive to the urgency of looking at the fisheries management. We, over the last 10 years, have been using this approach, community-based adaptive management approach. We think they suit the philosophy and also the need, taking into account the need for respecting communities' values and needs. So it's basically adaptive management, but the key, the communities are doing that. It's not scientists coming to do doing the management planning, so it's very participatory. And this is just an example of a meeting where they're designing the management rules. Women, elders and chiefs are also involved. So local management strategies, this is an example just to illustrate to you what it looks like. An LMMA is a marine management area. There's the community that has a marine area where they have influence over, and they can have permanent closure, tambos, gear restrictions, and other fisheries management rules depending on the configuration that's suitable for the community. And the key is that they decide, they demarcate, and they enforce as well. The village management plans does not only include fisheries management, but also other integrated coastal management efforts. Planting of mangroves, restoring giant clams, marine aquaculture, reforestation, or even alternative income generation, putting seawalls as wave breakers. And these are initiatives that the communities come up with once they identify the threat or the issue. And with the little information that they get, and these are the things that they act upon. And also there's an income generating for the Flemmer network, sponsoring reef restoration, and if you and we invite you to support the initiative as well. Looking back at the management plans over the last 10 years, what I have on the side there, and those are the issues that villages are addressing. It does not only cover coastal fisheries issues, overfishing, leadership. They have village governance, education and awareness, livelihoods, and alternative income generation. And you can see it down here, overfishing and habitat loss over the last 10 years have decreased based on the number of issues identified for the management plans. And this is the adaptive management, where communities are trained to do the monitoring, analysis of data, presenting back to their communities, and socializing the information back to the communities, and closing the gap and feeding back information to the whole community for decision making. And that's at the village level. And this is my home island, and island-wide setting. This is there are about 72 villages here, and in the last 10 years, this has gone around the island. The red shades are the no-take areas or the tambo areas, but the whole area is now being managed.
3 minutes now.
And also there's a proposal now for the same island to put aside a buffer, 10-mile buffer within the archipelagical waters. There's also a no-take, so they're moving offshore in the proposal to sue. And for this one here is to protect some of the rules considered here is to stop commercial fishing boats from encroaching into their fishing areas, and also in anticipation of mining plans. At the national level, there are about the blue lines, the blue shaded fishing areas are the ones that are yet to be managed. The ones in yellow are the ones that have been managed through the process that I've explained before. And just the progress on Fiji's 30% commitment through all the effort from the village, province to the national level. We have covered about 30% of our inshore areas. That's about 12,000 square kilometers managed in the way that I've described earlier. There are about 437 tambo or no-take areas, and at least 400 of the 1,200 coastal villages in Fiji have some form of management. Even though there's still a long way to go, but I think the progress driven by community, I think it's commendable. I have 1 more minute. Who's doing that? This is the FLEMA, the partnership. Not only the local community, private sector, they all have a place to decide at the national level. Academic institutions, and this has been going on for 10 years. And also outside of Fiji, the growth have also been seen from Fiji, Samoa, Solomon Island, PNG, and other countries within the Oceania region as part of the LMMA network. May I recognize those LMMA members here? And these are the people that are responsible for this growth. And I will not go through all the enabling factors for scaling up here, but just pick 2. One, the number 2, community and local leaders are empowered to make decisions. That's very important. And number 10, it's important to always have somebody as a local champion for the community, province, and the national network. And this is a picture of a blessing of the MPA, where the chiefs, the religious leaders, and of a district, that's 7 communities coming together to demarcate the management area and bless it as well. Good night.
Thanks. So we're going to move on to the 3rd and final session of our multi-pronged session.
All right, we're moving right along, and this last session we have 2 presentations. The first one by our Australian colleagues, who I would like to invite up. This is Rob Kennett from NEOSMA, Leah Caldwell from Australian Conservation Foundation, and Phil Riss from the Guernsey Aboriginal Corporation. And they will talk about the importance of Indigenous leadership and traditional knowledge in marine management. So, Rob.
Thanks, Mario. Do we have to get out of here at 2:30 when we started later, or have we got a little bit of We can reclaim our time, I think, from there.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks very much.
But concise.
Concise. We'll drop out video.
There's 3 minutes left.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Phil Risk, and I'm from the Girigan Aboriginal Corporation in North Queensland. We did have a short video we wanted to play for you guys to demonstrate traditional connection to our country, but we've run out of time, so we'll keep going. If we have time later on, we'll supposed to come back and switch on, but we wanted to play it at the start to really lay the platform for what we're going to talk about now. Before I speak any further, it's customary for us to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land that we stand on, whoever they may be. In our country, we always acknowledge our neighbours and the traditional land that we're talking about, so I to do first. I suppose we go straight into it, guys. To my left here is Leah. Leah's from Otherwood, further north from where I am, in North Queensland, and known rights from now right across the top of Northern Australia. So how do we operate this in Rook?